So in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I make an R&B beat and the process it takes me to make one and how you can accomplish that as well. So for starters, most R&B beats have piano in them. So for this beat, I went ahead and just added a piano sound, specifically from the VST Addictive Keys. And if you don't know what a VST, it just means a virtual instrument. I downloaded this plugin and I went ahead and used it. I was using a preset called Studio Grand. And I went ahead and played this chord progression right here. Now, I don't normally use addictive keys, but for this beat specifically, I like the sound this piano had. I usually go for something a little bit more lively and more natural. Like the plugins from Native Instruments, I usually go for the grandeur. Now, you probably wonder why did I play this chord progression? The thing is, it doesn't matter what chord progression you play. Okay, well, it matters a little bit, but I'm saying it doesn't matter what key you play your chord progression in, as long as it sounds R&B-ish, I guess you would say. So how do I achieve that? And the way that I achieve that is R&B progressions don't have the same chords, the same basic chords you would play in a normal, like maybe hype trap beat or like an emotion trap beat or any other type of beat. Actually, you gotta actually know some music theory in order to play some R&B chords, unless you get lucky and just mess around and just play whatever. So for example, I played this chord to start off this beat, which is a B flat major 7, right? Now the regular chord play with that, it would be just a B major, right? But that just doesn't sound, you know, R&B-ish. I guess that's the best way I can put it. You need to put that 7th in there. So in order for it to do that, you need to add that last A right here, which makes it sound R&B-ish. Okay, if you play this, it sounds basic. The next chord I used was this. It was an A augmented chord. But again, if you would just play the regular chord, it would just be like this. Just still sound good, but this is augmented. You need to know what an augmented chord is, other known as a D flat diminished chord. Now this will be like a regular, this right here will be a regular G flat minor, which is a regular chord, is an inversion of G flat minor, right? Now this is augmented. This is where theory comes in. And you play an A over it, which makes that sound. Then you play the A minor 7. This is like the really common her, you know, LMA type chords. You can add the octave if you want, and then you just go to a regular C, and then back to the B flat major 7. Now, the way I really wanted to make this beat stand out is by adding a lead on top of it. Sometimes adding a counter melody can make a huge difference. It doesn't always make a difference, but it can make a huge difference. So with this lead sound, it sounded like this. And I use a beautiful dread lead for this sound specifically. I did add some EQ from Pro Q3 and I added some effectrix, and the effectrix made the sound like this. Now, I like to manipulate the sound a lot. That's why I add all these effects. Sometimes I don't want the lead to be so bright. And then I use the spaced out reverb. I really love this reverb because it creates a different ambience than a Valhalla one or like the regular stock plugin reverb that Logic has. A lot of mistakes that we use sometimes, we just add a sound and we leave it as is. Sometimes that can work. Most of the time, you want to manipulate the sound just a little bit. Now, one thing that's big on R&B beats is I love to add vocal chops. Vocal chops can be very beneficial. Depends how you use them. You gotta know where to put them and place them as well. You can't just leave them anywhere on the beat. For instance, in this beat, I used it right here. Now this vocal chop worked perfectly right here because I thought it would be perfectly just to use it in the beginning of this sound. I did manipulate it a lot. I added a Pro Q3 and I just did a bandpass narrow on it. I also added this plugin called CLA Vocals. It's from Waves. I messed with the presets a little bit and just messed with the knobs somewhat. Then I went ahead and used again a spaced out reverb at the end just to add that effects and that ambience that I know I can really use. And believe it or not, after that I added a second vocal chop from Arcade. So then I did the same thing. I added a Pro Q3 and then I went ahead and added a spaced out reverb plugin. Like you can see right now, spaced out is probably one of my favorite reverbs at this point. If you're gonna use some vocal chops, make sure you know where to place them. Don't overdo it. And if you do overdo it, make sure you don't make it super loud unless that's your intention. But if you're gonna make this beat for sale or lease it or just, you know, make it for another artist, I recommend, you know, bringing down the vocals so you can leave room for the person that's gonna rap or sing on it. Now, one of my favorite basses to use is from Omnisphere and it's called Growler Moog. For this sound, it sounded like this. I did add 2 different bass tracks for this beat and I'll show you how I did the other one in just a few seconds. But for the Growler Moog, I just went ahead and played the same melody, the same chords that I was playing as in the beginning, just using the bass root note, of course. I added a Pro Q3 on it as well and I just adjusted a few things and I left that as is. I don't really add too many effects for the bass, just remove some of the low end so it doesn't clash with anything else and it won't sound too muddy as well. Now the second bass I added was more like a thump bass and it sounds like this. And the reason I use this is because, you know, these R&B beats kind of sometimes, if you're going for this type of style, this works very perfectly for like somebody like Ty Dolla $ign or even Chris Brown even. And I love adding different bass tracks when it's like these type of beats. So this sound came from Omnisphere as well and it's called Energy Pluck. Now you can go ahead and just search for this sound and I'm pretty sure you're gonna like it if you already have Omnisphere. I thought this sound sounded good. I did manipulate it a little bit by using a little bit of EQ, Pro Q3 and just adjusted a few things and after that it was perfect. In this case for bass, less is more. Now we go into the hi-hats. Now I always say that the hi-hats are like the rhythm, the whole flow of your beat. This is when it's gonna give it that groove. It's what's gonna make it different, what's gonna make it stand out. So for the hi-hat, I use my regular hi-hat from my pack. If you wanna go ahead and purchase that, you can go ahead, link is in the description. And also I give free samples away all the time. If you're signed up to my Patreon for only $5 a month, you can get a lot of free samples. It's super cheap, so go ahead, link is also in the description. So this is the hi-hat pattern that I used. It's kind of basic hi-hat pattern sound. I don't try to do too much when it comes to R&B beats, but I did just want to make this kind of basic and just flow through. Not much to say on hi-hat. I did use a Pro Q3 and adjusted some of the low end and then remove some of the high end so it won't like stab the ear. It's very important that you know the different frequencies that the hi-hats are using in order to manipulate them and adjust them properly. Now when we come to the snare, I do like to do something a little bit different. I like to do a lot of things with my snares and this is what the snare sounded like. Now I know the snare usually hits on every third beat depending on what BPM you have it on. In this case, that's exactly what it's doing, but I like to add some flow to the snare. That's why I add all these little snares to the side of it. So right before the snare hits on the third beat, I go ahead and put it right before that. It's kind of like an off note. So it could kind of make more of a rhythm for you and it sounds different. It sounds a little bit better. A lot of people use percussion sounds. A lot of people use different sounds, an open hat, something like that. I don't know. But for me, I like to use the same snare, put it on a different note and just make it work that way. Now I did add another snare right under it and it sounds like this. Now this snare is not at the same volume as the other snare because the whole point of this one is to just blend in with the first snare, and that was my whole purpose for this type of beat. You don't always have to do all beats like this, but I just felt like it needed a little bit more fullness, so this is what I added. The next thing that I added was a kick, and this was the whole rhythm of the kick. Now, when it comes to kicks, I can be very picky on how the rhythm of the kick's gonna be, if it's gonna be more wavy or more just solid type of kick rhythm. But I just went with my gut on this one, and I just played it how I felt it. I wanted kind of like that hip hop R&B style, so I just went ahead and did like kind of like a boom bap R&B, not really too boom bappy, but kind of trap still and our new R&B-ish for the kick. And I just went with my gut and played in any single note that I felt I can hit the kick in. You can go ahead and draw some kicks in, and you can go about it that way. I like to just play it on the MIDI keyboard and then just go with the feel and maybe give it a couple tries until you get it right. All I added was a Pro Q3 on this. Didn't really mess with it too much, just added some of the high-end mids, and then after that lowered some of the lows, and then lowered some of the low frequencies just so it won't clash with the bass and other instruments. So believe it or not, I added another lead at the end. I just felt like the beat wasn't complete until I added another lead. Now this was definitely just choice. I did not have to add this lead. I thought the beat was finished, but then I thought, you know, it needs something else for the chorus, or for when the beat drops off, or just to know the difference between the chorus, the pre-chorus, and the verses, the bridge, whatever it is. So I added this lead right here. And it's called Sit Chip 64 lead. So it's from Anna 2 as well. And if you don't know where Anna 2 comes from, it's from Slate Digital, just in case you didn't know. So again, I added a Pro Q3 for this, and I just had to mess around with the low end, high end, make sure it's right in the middle where I want it, and I added a spaced out reverb just to create that ambience. At the end, I added some crashes here and there, some swooshes, and if you don't know what swooshes is, it's just like some risers, I guess you can call them that. I call them swooshes because that's what it sounds like to me. Some crashes, my tag, and the whole beat just sounded like this.
Bless those keys, the RMC. Bless those keys, the RMC.
Alright guys, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet for more of these videos. And if you want to learn piano or just want to increase your beat making skills, don't forget to go ahead and click the link down in the description. Sign up to my Patreon where I'm dropping gems every single week. Thank you guys so much. Till next time, stay blessed and stay positive. Peace.